I hope you are able to see my screen. Is it not? So this is what is our topic, electrochemical machining, which is based upon the electrochemistry. So quickly, if we recapitulate, okay, and try to see what we have seen, uh, electrochemical machining, similar to if we say the EDM also die sinking, we first create a tool, okay, and ECM process, the shape of the tool, okay, the reverse shape, complementary shape of the tool will be created on the job, okay, and since the job is getting eroded, question is there, how do you get it, okay, and in this case we have to ensure there is no erosion of the tool as we process, because tool may be have given a shape depending upon our requirement. So what should be the shape of the tool? So this, all these questions we try to answer, okay, and here just quickly going through. Uh, this was the basic setup of the ECM process, where you see very simple setup. Actual setup is far more complex. Here actually something we, if you want to machine, okay. So this is my job, which is fixed on a fixture, okay, supported on some insulating base, and which will be also, job will be connected with some one end of the power supply. And this is my tool, which is also metallic, okay, and either we can inject the electrolyte or we can allow, force the electrolyte to enter in and exit through this pathway, okay, and there will be a very small gap, and tool, the metallic tool is also connected with the other polarity of the power supply, and typically this will be DC power supply, whether the positive part things which will be connected to the job to be machined, and this is the negative terminal is connected to the tool, okay, and this electrolyte will escape and along with the reaction products, and it will get filtered and put it back into the systems, okay, so that always fresh electrolyte fills up the inter electrode gap. So we have seen how to estimate the MRR, okay, for ECM, electrochemical machining is known as ECM. And so we have identified the two Faraday's laws. In one case, the amount of material removed will be proportional to the charge which has passed through the electrolyte. That is number one thing. And second thing, the amount of material removed is also proportional to the electrochemical equivalent. Okay, so this is similar to any other electrochemical process which Michael Faraday has given pretty long back. Okay, and so what is electrochemical equivalent? We know it is basically that is atomic weight divided by valency, which will be the electrochemical equivalent. So in that case, if we combine these two laws, what we have got? We have got the amount of material removed. We are denoting by W. So the W will be 1 by F into atomic weight by valency into total amount of charge flown through the electrolyte during the machining process. And what is Q? Q is if the we have a constant value of current. So if you multiply the current by ampere, so we get, this is the equation, okay, 1 by F into atomic weight by valency into current into time. So the rate will be that W dot will be W by T into this one, okay, atomic weight by valency into I. So here you see the this will be, we will be able to see how many grams per second, okay, we'll be shipping will be getting an F value of Faraday's constant is 96,500 coulomb, okay. So this is nothing but my material removal rate, this is in grams, but if you want to see, because we are machining what is the volumetric material removal rate? So what we have to do it? The whole thing, this we have to divide by the density of the material. So that is exactly we have done. It is atomic weight by valency into 1 by F into I divided by rho. Very simple. Okay. So this will be in meter cube per second or centimeter, whatever dimensions we give in rho. So accordingly it will come. So feed rate, suppose if you see the tool is from top, which is gradually machining a block of material, whatever material, under its footprint by electrochemical dissolution. So with the area of interaction, if you assume that remains constant with time. Okay, so we can see machining current density also maybe remaining constant. So current density Jc, if I denote by J, so it will be I by divided by the surface area of the tool. Surface area of the tool. What is the bottom part? If it is a completely flat. So from that things, the rate of the feed rate, okay, the rate of is nothing but the dissolution rate, vertical depth that we machine per unit time. Is it not? That should be my feed rate, because in order to maintain the machining rate uniform, the inter-electrode gap is maintained constant. So whatever job is machined, the tool will come down and it will make up for the gap. So that is what is my feed rate per unit time. Okay, feed rate. Okay, no unit time. So this is for a pure metal. Okay, but if you see what should be the material removal rate for an alloy, okay, because a material may be consisting, if it is an alloy, most of the time it is an alloy. So if it is an alloy, it will be consisting of various alloying elements. Say assume we are having n number of alloying elements present in the material. So whose valency is known, atomic weight is also known, and their individual percentage presence in the alloy, that is also known. And we are denoting valency changing from V1 to Vn. That is valency. This is atomic number for first material is A1, nth material is An, and percentage of the composition. First material it is maybe X%. Okay, and nth material it is xn%, like x1, x2, like so on. So in that case we can find it out and derive, okay, from Faraday's laws, that the rate of material removal, okay, for an alloy is how much? 100 into I divided by F. F stands for the Faraday's constant, I stands for the current. This multiplied by 1 upon summation xi vi divided by ai, where I equal to 1 to n. So what is x? As I already said, x is the percentage composition, percentage presence. Vi is the individual valencies of the ith element, and ai is the atomic weight of the ith element. So together, if we calculate this total sum total, and that is reciprocal of that, okay, multiplied by 100 into I into divided by F. So that gives my material removal rate in terms of grams per second or kg per second, whatever you need to take. Okay, so this is for an alloy. So what is important to note, okay, in this, okay, that at any point of the material, see, the material removal rate is proportional to the local current density. Okay, so if it is a completely flat and every point is equidistant from the tool, on the job surface, every point on the job surface is equidistant from the tool, then probably current density will be uniform. But suppose to start with, we are machining a flat rectangular block. Okay, and this is something like this. Let me say my tool is somewhat like this. It is an inclined tool. Okay, this is my tool, and job is otherwise flat. This is my job. Okay, so here what you see, the this gap here to here, this is something, here to here this is more, here to here this is some other value, is it not? So whenever the current flows and this gap is filled up with electrolyte, whenever the machining happens, the distance is non-uniform. So local current density, because amount of charge flowing through this cannot be same as this. Okay, on the left hand side, the current density will be more, and on the right hand side, the current density will be less, because electrolyte is also going to offer some resistance. And the more the distance from this point to this workpiece to the tool, the resistance will be higher. So current density, local current density will be less. Okay, and here the local current density will be high because current value is high. So material removal rate at any point is proportional to current density because local current density is changing. But had this tool be what you call it is a horizontal tool like this with respect to the job. So that case current more or less would have been uniform all across, current density would have been uniform. Okay. This is minus and this will be plus. Okay. So this is now how the transfer of the tool profile workpiece's profile in ECM. So this is what we are trying to say. See, my desired profile is somewhat like this. This dotted line, this is my desired profile. But we are starting the job something like this. So what we have done, we had machined that bottom surface of the tool by some other externally, maybe by CNC machining, and give this 3D profile, and which is complementary to the desired surface. Now, when we deploy this tool to machine this job, what will happen? And there is some feeding device also, and this gap is although very small. You see, sir, with time this should be uniformly get. Why not? Why can't we have this kind of machining like this flat with time? This will not happen because of the variation in the current density. The local erosion rate will be automatically adjusted. Means this portion is much closer. This portion is also closer, and compared to this portion, which is much higher. This distance is higher. So if you look at the machining rate on the surface, because of the variation of the current density, here because of the high current density, machining rate will be high, but this side machining rate will be high, but somewhere in the middle machining rate will be low. So at any initial state, until and unless this gap more or less becomes uniform, okay, across the this inter-electrode gap, if we linearly go, so we'll find there is a variation of material removal rate, which ensures the tool profile is eventually transferred. Any portions is still not machined, their current density will be higher and that will be eroded faster. Okay, so eventually after some times, tool profile job will get the complementary shape of the tool profile, and if you machine further, that profile remains, because that time current density across the gap will be uniform. Okay. Any question? No. Now, suppose I have much simpler case. I have a job like this. I have a tool, and this is what we want to machine. Okay. So this is negative. This will be positive connected to the power supply, and that gap is filled up with an electrolyte whose, we said, the specific resistance of the electrolyte is uniform. We assume it is homogeneous and the resistance of the electrolyte is uniform, the specific resistance, and it is represented by resistivity, that is gamma. Okay. Now, initial gap, before we switch on the power supply, we typically for ECM, electromechanical machining, give a voltage something between say 5 to 50 volt. It is a low voltage process. Okay. So initial inter-electrode gap is H, assume. Okay. So, and this area of the tool, this is something like we are denoting by A. Okay, so that is constant. So anything under this area, under this footprint, which will be machined. So job is exactly under this of the same size and which will machined. So this white portions you see, that portion will be machined. So this thickness is around delta H, which will be dH, which will be machined in time dt, a small amount of time. And so this is what we have achieved. The question is that whether the dissolution reactions in ECM process will proceed if only an appropriate constant voltage is provided between the electrodes, and there is no mechanism to moving the tool downward. That means the feed rate is 0. Okay, cathode, this is the cathode. So this feed rate is 0 with respect to the anode. So in that case, how long this machining will go on? Will it, this rate, will this continue to get machined? And if it is get machined, continue to get machined, will it be continue to get machined at the same rate? Okay, and if not, at what rate and how the gap changes? So that is what we'll see. So look at this. Okay, so what we have done, if you see the rate of anodic dissolution, anodic, this means the workpiece dissolution, work is connected to the anode. So in time dt, how much is this? That we are denoting by dw. So dw, it will be your, the volume wise it is area A, area multiplied by this thickness of machine removed in time dt, that is dH, and if we multiply by rho, we get it in terms of mass. Okay, kg or gram, whatever it may be. So this is what we got, and if we try to equate from the MRR based upon Faraday's laws of electrolysis, so that will be 1 by F into electrochemical equivalent into I into the time dt. Okay. So the rate of change of the gap, what was the total change on the gap? That was nothing but dH. So rate is dH dt, okay, which will be 1 by F into EC into I. Now dH by A into rho comes this side. So this will be these equations. Now out of this terms, you see the current can be estimated based upon the resistivity and other dimensions. Say current will be from Ohm's law. We can calculate. Say if V is your applied DC voltage applied between the tool and the job. Okay, so your resistance in the this gap, how much is the, what is the resistance? This is resistivity into this H, okay, divided by the surface area of the tool. Okay, so that case the current value will be V divided by the whole of this term, gamma H divided by A. Okay, so we can write from this. Okay, we can come over here, dH dt equal to how much? 1 by Faraday's constant into electrochemical equivalent, which is nothing but the ratio of atomic weight by valency of resolution into this value. So out of this, if we put the value of current, so it becomes V into gamma H, area and area cancels from here, so divided by rho. Okay, so out of this, in this, you see what is changing? Rate of gap is changing, dH dt, dH by dt. Okay, and remaining out of the things, you see F is constant, Faraday's constant. Electrochemical equivalent for this given situation is constant. The applied voltage for the given situations during machining, say set parameters, it is constant. We assume the resistivity of the electrolyte does not change and density of the material. So together you see this is what is constant. Okay, so we can write this will be how much? Leaving aside H, remaining terms can be given as a constant. Okay, so dH dt will be this constant divided by H. What is H? H is the this gap. This is my H. Okay, so this is important. So we can say rate of change of gap, okay, is this constant divided by H. So say initially we have set some gap H0, means we have having this gap, say from the, if the this is in the x y coordinate is the gap. So this is 0, 0 means the tool is touching the job, and as we increase the inter-electrode gap, so value also increases, value of H increases. So initially we set it somewhere over here, H0, that value is H0. And in time t, let us assume this gap increases to, which time gap will increase? Yes or no? Yes, because material is getting dissolved and we are not moving the tool towards the job. Okay, so gap will increase. And by how much? It is, new value is H1. So difference of this is H1 minus H0 is nothing but your value of dH. Okay, so if we try to integrate from here, so we can write integration with limits H0 to H1. Okay, integrate H dH, which will be integration of C into C dt. Okay, the limits is from 0 to t. So we can write H1, this will be lead to a parabolic equation. Okay, H1 square minus H0 square, which will be how much? Some 2 into C into T. where T is your time. So this is my time axis. So with time, because of this gap increases parabolically, machining rate decreases accordingly. Okay, and finally ceases to 0. What is happening? You see, from H1 we have started. Okay, and this is initially rated step, but with time this will increase, but rate will come down, and eventually it will be completely flattened out. That means although we are having more and more time applied them voltage, but actually practically there won't be any change in the gap. So machining will, for all practical purpose, machining will stop. So this is has to be this thing, whether we start with a zero gap, okay, or whether we start with some H0, it doesn't matter. After some time, machining is gap will become much more wider and machining will stop, because higher gap, because of the resistance, it will offer so much of resistance, hardly any current will flow with time. So there won't be any machining. So in order to continue the machining, now we understand we have to make move the tool vertically downwards towards the job. Okay, so that relative gap between the tool and the job, that remains constant. But if you move even faster than the rate of machining, what may happen? Tool is moving faster than the rate of machining. So that case, in no time, the gap will be coming down quickly and tool will come and hit the job. So there will be short circuit and also this kind of problems will be there. So we should be having some gap monitoring device which will maintain this gap. Okay, with some feedback system, so that never the tool should touch. Okay, and this machining can take place. So now we understand we have to give a feed. Tool has to move downwards with a feed rate of S. S is my feed rate. Okay. So the previous equations, what was this? It was rate of change of gap. Okay. Change of gap with time was C by H. Okay. The moment you give a feed, so change of gap, okay, minus this thing, so this will be my C by H. Okay, because out of this C by H, one component is S, so dH dt will be actually C by H minus this feed rate S. For material removal rate, see, out of this, when you start the ECM process, what you understand in the previous picture, see, the gap is changing. That means machining rate, initially it will have some unstable rate. Okay. So we have not achieved the stable condition or steady state. So after some times, of course, if we have proper feedback mechanism, it is possible to have a steady state. Okay, so here what will happen under steady state? What will happen? The inter-electrode gap does not change. So dH dt, that is 0. Okay, so in that case, your C by H minus S, which is equal to dH dt, that will be 0. So we can write like this: S equal to C by H. What is C? If you recall, C is this value. Okay, 1 by F into electrochemical equivalent into applied voltage divided by gamma into density. Okay, so we know S equal to H equal to C by A. What is H? This is H under equilibrium conditions. So for constant feed rate, H will be constant, which is H equilibrium under steady state, of course. So this is HE. So once the machining attains the steady state conditions, equilibrium conditions, so gap is also will some fixed value, which will be nothing but the constant divided by value of feed. So HE. So HE equal to, straight away we can write C by S. So here what you see, value of equilibrium gap is depending upon what? This is constant. It will not depend on, of course, but mostly it will, which can have impact on this, it is the value of feed rate. So it is inversely proportional to the feed rate. So once we attain equilibrium for different feed rates, we will have different inter-electrode gaps at steady state. If feed rate is high, gap is less. If the feed rate is low, inter-equilibrium gap will be high. Okay, that is what this equation says. Now, we can have some define some non-dimensional terms like this. One we are expressing the inter-electrode gap in terms of equilibrium gap. At any point of time, if H is the gap, we are non-dimensional, making it non-dimensional by dividing by HE. HE is constant from the given set of parameters, your and constant feed rate. So H dash, which is a non-dimensional, will be H by HE. What is H by HE? We just replace C by H in the C by S in this equation. So H dash becomes SH divided by C. Okay. And we are defining non-dimensional time, okay, by S into T divided by H. What is S into T? S is your feed rate, okay, that has to be matched with the dissolution rate at under equilibrium conditions. S should match with the material dissolution rate under equilibrium condition, how much depth has been eroded. So if you multiply by the time, that means amount of depth achieved in time t. So this, if we divide by HE, we get non-dimensional time. You see, this is distance by meter per second. This will be in meter, and this is the time. So this is non-dimensional. So what we are doing basically, we are multiplying time by S by HE to get it dimensionless. So in terms of constant C, we can write T dash equal to A square into T divided by the constant C. Okay, so these are the two, H dash and T dash. We define these two non-dimensional parameters. So the non-dimensional form of the equation, this is equation 9. Okay, so this equation 9 in non-dimensional form can be written as dH dash divided by dt dash equal to 1 minus H dash divided by H dash. This we can find out, and we'll get this expression from this. Just put those values, you will get this. Okay, so this is what we'll get in the same thing. So this is a equation in non-dimensional form. So now this we try to integrate and see what happens. So on integrations, so for the integrations, what is their limits? For H dash, limit is we are starting from initial gap H0. So for which for this H0 dash lower limit and upper limit is H1 dash. Both are non-dimensional, of course. And for time, it is 0. T dash is 0. Okay. and this will be upper limit is your T dash. So if we try to integrate, we'll see this is what we get. H0 dash minus H1 dash. Okay. Plus log of H0 dash minus 1 whole divided by H1 dash minus 1. Okay. So this is what I would get it. Okay, this other bracket we have not closed it. Probably this has to be should have been done. Okay, two brackets will come. One will be after this second bracket, and after this last the third bracket. So this is the value of T dash. So now what we'll do, we'll try to plot how the H dash against T dash. How? That means how the non-dimensional gap is varying with the non-dimensional time. So looking at this kind of form, you see this thing will be changing. Initially it is H dash, but it will change like this. Log of this will give a form like this. Although this is 0, but because of the per this is will be at 1. Okay. So this will change like this. I think, yes, I think let us look at the largest thing. See what we have. We can have different equilibrium value of the equilibrium gap H0. Means just think of it physically. Maybe we have set the initial gap before switching on the voltage, applying the voltage. Maybe initial gap was 100 micron, 0.1 millimeter in some case. Or in some case, say 150 microns, some cases it may be 200 microns, some cases 300 microns, some cases 400 microns, something like this. Okay, so it is varying with that, so that it leads to when H0 is 0, that means the tool and the job is gap is there is no gap, they're just on the verge of touching. Okay, and this ratio means where H0 equal to 1 means what? H0 equal to 1 means H, if you recall, H dash is basically the ratio of H by HE. So that means H0 is nothing exactly, it is set as the equilibrium gap. So at that things, the gap need not have to be adjusted. It will already set at the equilibrium gap. So here how it will change. Say for if the gap is less than the equilibrium gap, what will happen? Okay, that means it is already start. You see, with time, this gap is widening up. With time, gap is widening up. And finally, after long time, it is attaining the equilibrium gap. Okay, and here, if the gap is more than the equilibrium gap, the value of H dash is more than 1, what will happen? This gap will reduce with time. Okay, gap will further reduce with a higher initial set gap. But what is happening? Whatever may be the initial gap, whether higher than the equilibrium gap or whether it's lower than the equilibrium gap, with time it will quickly try to adjust itself to the equilibrium gap. This we are getting by plotting the previous equation. So this is a beautiful scenario, I think, and much of our headache is gone. Means you set the machining rate or inter-electrode gap to any value. Okay, and give a feed of S. What will happen? Don't bother much. The gap will automatically get adjusted to the equilibrium gap. So whatever may be the initial gap, we are getting the equilibrium gap, finally attaining the equilibrium gap. So this is a self-adjusted process. As the machining goes on, machining itself will adjust it, not machining, inter-electrode gap will adjust it to the equilibrium gap. Okay, so that's why the in ECM process, the inter-electrode gap or the machining is always self-regulated, and ECM process, okay, theoretically at least, is called a self-regulated process, because it will of its own it can adjust the gap. But there are some practicalities, there are some practical difficulties. It will not exactly happen because there are some assumptions like electrolyte properties will remain constant in the gap, which may not happen because of the electrochemical reactions. They are reaction products, some of them are insoluble, those need to be removed clearly, filtered, put back. That is one difficulty. Then with time, temperature of the electrolyte may rise, that may change the conductivity of the electrolyte, that will have some effect. Or there will be hydrogen bubbles may be generated in the inter-electrode gap, that will also change the resistivity locally or current. Okay, so this kind of practical difficulties within a very narrow gap may come, and for a narrow gap it becomes even more difficult for maintaining the electrolyte property. So although it is self-regulated, but there may be practical difficulties come, so that when you go to the very narrow gap, this difficulty becomes even more. Okay, so we'll come to those points later on. But for this, let us know this is how it will go on. Okay, any question?
Sir, can you just re-explain the part where you form the dimensionless parameters?
Just a minute. Processes. Just a minute, my computer is giving. Could you just repeat your question?
Sir, I just want to hear your explanation again about the formation of dimensionless parameters.
Okay, okay. So I think I guess just I want to get ensured. So what we are doing, okay, we are trying to know how the inter-electrode gap is changing with time. Okay, this is what we want to find it out. So for that, H is having inter-electrode gap is nothing but these dimensions. Okay, it is having some unit. So in order to do that things, what we do it, we have to making it non-dimensional. Now here something, say for a given parameter setting, machine will run on some parameter setting, and some of the physical properties which we can assume it to be constant. Say here, if we from Faraday's law, this Faraday's constant, electrochemical equivalent of the job, okay, of dissolution, and this is applied voltage, this is specific resistance, this is density of the material, this is constant. Okay, and what will happen if we continue machining? Okay, whatever may be the initial gap, after sometimes what will happen, either machining rate will change because the machining condition is not, or gap is not conducive to have a constant machining rate with respect to the given parameters. So gap will adjust, try to readjust, and finally eventually the gap will become stable, and machining rate, dissolution rate, this becomes constant, stable. So that gap finally when it attains, and this that time with even we give, when we are giving a feed positive feed of S, so gap does not change. This He that will continuously to be maintained. Okay, so that is we are denoting at equilibrium gap. So if we want to make this, initially we have made some gap. So that if you want to non-dimensionalize, we are dividing by HE. Okay, so H by HE is your gap. Say initially we have set some H dash value, which is nothing but H by HE. Say if we have set it to value of H0, that case non-dimensional H0 H dash will be H0 dash, but divided by HE. If you have after some time, if it is a value attains a value of H1, so H dash becomes H1 dash divided by HE. So in terms of your constant and feed rate, we have already got it, H equal to C by S. So we put the value of that in that, and this is what we get. Okay, your C by S, okay, by HE, because HE is how much? HE is equal to C by S. So that we have put it over here. So it becomes H dash becomes SH by C. Okay. So and this T dash is basically we are doing how much see in time we have, if we want to do it, we are trying to non-dimensionally by multiplying with H divided by HE. If you see, if we have a feed rate of S, okay, so in time T, how much depth is machined? Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Okay, man, because some that pop-up window came bad network quality. Okay, so how if we have a feed rate of S in time T, this much depth will be removed because S is moving by this much, tool is moving by this much, and that is exactly the amount of depth that we have achieved in that time, because HE is constant. So T dash is basically S into T divided by HE, that is in terms of S square into T divided by C. Okay, this is how we have non-dimensionalized. So this from this, okay, and from this we try to make this equation in the non-dimensional form. Straightforward. And then we integrate with the limits, where limits are changing from say time is from 0 to T dash, and another one is H0 dash to H dash. So integration will lead us to this kind of equation. I think the bracket we have not, I forgot to give. So this will my equation. Now this we have tried to plot it over here. This equation we have tried to plot it onto this. What we are doing, H dash, variation of H dash with time, T dash. Okay, both in non-dimensional form. So, and here you see, we can have different sets of, how is the gap is changing. Suppose we have H0 initial gap, H0 dash, these are H0 dash basically. Okay, is something like 1.5 to something like that. But initially, the more the value of H0 H dash, okay, more the value of H dash, the rate of change of the gap is more quicker, more steep initially. Okay, more faster initially, and whether it is less than equilibrium gap or whether it more than the equilibrium gap. For more the gap will get shortened with time, but finally it will, the rate change will come steadily as it comes near to the equilibrium gap, and we can say after some times, for all practical purposes, it will have exactly equilibrium value. It may take theoretically infinite time, but it will take the, practically it will take the equilibrium gap. What is equilibrium gap? For when H dash equal to 1, that is the equilibrium gap. For that actually H dash equal to HE. Okay. So this is how this gap. So from this we can say irrespective of your initial gap setting, the machine will self-regulating. By the self-regulating process, it will come back to the equilibrium position. Okay, you need not have to bother have some feedback mechanism, but that is for practical, theoretically. But for practically, there may be other difficulties for which this may not happen as per theory. Always we have to have some other feedback and short circuit prevention mechanism, which is part of the machine, which I have not discussed as yet. Okay, let us move forward. So some important features of the ECM process. Okay, so we have seen the process attempts to maintain a constant initial gap and the feed rate. So the process is self-regulated, but we can have different feed rates. I have seen the value of equilibrium gap that depends upon the feed rate. Okay, because if you see HE equilibrium gap, HE equal to constant C divided by S. So equilibrium gap will directly proportional, not inversely proportional to the feed rate. So if we move the tool with a higher feed rate, steady state gap will be low. Okay, and if the feed rate is low, steady state gap will be high. That is one thing. Now, higher feed rate, as I said, smaller gap, hence higher current density. See, this is from this we can easily infer. See, the consequence of a higher feed rate means it will lead to a smaller gap. So the moment the gap is small, resistance offered by the electrolyte is less, so we can have a higher current density. And again, as per Faraday's laws, higher current density means higher material removal rate. Okay, so this is one thing, we can high material removal rate. But if we initial feed rate is low, MRR becomes low. And another important thing is that the smaller the gap, the exact complementary shape will be more exactly replicated on the job. Of the complementary shape of the tool will be replicated on the job. But if the gap is high, there are chances because of the non-uniform machining rate, even at equilibrium, because of the across. Let me show some figure. It will be happening. This is a higher job accuracy. Why we are getting higher job accuracy? See, yes. See, when you have a high accuracy and somehow we have maintained a stable inter-electrode gap, what may happen? Because of the, although the distance may be equal during the, tends to be equal at the things, but because of the passage of the electrolyte, the reaction products concentration is not uniform all through. Okay, and that may be vary at different places differently. So there may be some change on the local current density, and that may have some inaccuracy. Okay, but the smaller gap, because of the things, the such chances, such difference will be minimized. Okay, and fourth point is the surface finish. Surface finish, ECM, the surface finish is independent of a feed rate, independent of the material removal rate, because MRR is dependent upon the feed rate. So surface finish is independent of the material removal rate, because ECM theoretically, basically it is a atom by atom dissolution process, but not exactly, because and it will atom by atom dissolution process, and but surface finish not exactly, we could not have a molecular level finish, because if you look at it, your let me see. See, out of a chunk of a material, okay, it is internally have lot of microstructures, okay. It will have, depending upon, it might have been done by some cast rolling process and something like resolidification process and so on. Some kind of microstructures will be there, okay. So here what will happen, at different pockets this solidification will have, and accordingly the grain growth will happen, and these are what is the called this they are called the grains, and these are called the grain boundaries, okay. And because of this, the reaction rate may be different at the center of the grains and the grain boundaries. So this kind of disparities may be there, that will dictate the surface finish as well. So not exactly, because of these grains will have some finite size in terms of say few microns. So surface finish also will be in terms of few microns. Not exactly surface finish will be a nano level finish. We cannot get it in the ECM process. But of course, it is independent of the feed rate and material removal rate. Okay. Now, ECM process is independent of the hardness of the materials. See, ECM process is basically a electrochemical dissolution process. So how come hardness? Because there is no physical contact. So, and tool is not getting wear out. We have seen the tool is not taking part in the dissolution process, only helping the dissolution process. So, hardness is not a constant. Okay. But for conventional process, if you see conventionally, your harder the tool, your material removal rate comes down. Okay. Harder the tail, in conventional machining is more difficult to machine. So material removal rate in conventionally it will come down. But for ECM process, since it is independent of hardness of the material, so more or less it will remain, MRR will remain constant. In fact, okay, MRR will more or less remain constant. So this is for ECM and this is for conventional process. But since conventional process, you have to justify also ECM, because ECM means you have to invest for machining cost, the entire setup cost is much higher. So where your job is relatively softer, less harder rather, so you go for the conventional process. Okay, but when your hardness, this is your hardness H, and this side is my MRR. Sorry, this is MRR. And this side is my hardness. Okay, so something around these values, okay, where hardness is somewhere around 450 Brinell hardness, we can, as a thumb rule, we can say you can go for ECM process, and ECM is better than the conventional process. Okay, typically harder materials helps to improve the rate, because this is otherwise, because for ECM, it will have, what will contribute to this hardness? Typically, compared to a plain carbon steel, a alloy steel is harder. Why, you know? Because it will have some other alloying elements like chromium, nickel, which will contribute to the things. But since it is an alloy and when we dissolve by ECM process, So it will depend upon the what is the dissolution rate. Say for nickel, chromium, their multivalencies, they will dissolve much quicker, and ECM process they can dissolve slightly more quickly. Okay, so this kind of situations from some of the alloying elements may happen, not always, but it can have this tendency may be somewhat slightly as the hardness increase. I said it is same, but this tendency may be slightly on the higher side. This may be, sorry. This rate may slightly be increased. And number 6 point, there is no tool where this we have already tell the tool does not take part in the get dissolved, and with time also you can repeatedly using the same tool and machine further jobs. Okay, this is one important aspect, and practically it is very convenient, otherwise it would have been very difficult to do that. Okay, so we understand in order to maintain this, attain this profile, we have to give constant feed, downward feed to the tool and tool luminosity. Additionally, what we also know, because say for iron ferrous materials with a copper tool, and if we use our sodium chloride electrolyte aqueous solution, okay, put some common salt in water, so that becomes your electrolyte. Okay, so here the reaction products we have seen will be eventually ferric hydroxides. Job will get dissolved, but job will ultimately becomes, okay, Fe2OH3 ferric hydroxides. Okay, so this FeOH3 rather. So this ferric hydroxides is insoluble. They're dark brown in color. Very fine particles will be generated, and they, by the gravitational force, they will get settled onto the job. So in order to, and that doesn't get dissolved. So if it remains settled there, and also the whole electrolyte becomes turbid. Okay, and earlier it was clear. Now what will happen because of the resistance of the electrolyte, you understand, said, and further ion exchange as the job surface also will be hindered. So what you need to do it, we have to ensure the electrolyte flow at a high force. The electrolyte will flow through this gap. Okay, try to recall the your schematic where electrolyte is entering, and it is by force it is coming out through the narrow gap. Okay, just like this, I'll just show you once again here. So electrolyte is entering, and it is the gap is small, and it is by high force it will take away the reaction products. Okay, so it is very important to have this electrolyte flow of certain pressure has to be maintained. So from the after filtering through a pump and a filtering process, and maybe some kind of chiller is also there to cool the electrolyte, to maintain this high pressure and maintain the flow rate of the mass flow rate of the electrolyte. Okay, so other than these things also may have, we can have situations like ion concentration. We have to avoid that things. Okay, or say because of the these things, say here the reaction products or fresh, it is very important to replenish the contaminated electrolyte with a fresh electrolyte. Okay, so that this kind of situations which will bring down the reaction rates. Then deposition on the tool, that can be maintained by the electrolyte plate. Then reaction products, we call it as sludge. The muddy kind of things will get deposited on the workpiece. And another thing is also important. the overheating of the electrolyte, because what may happen when a current flow, ECM is low voltage high current process. So through the, because of the thing, there will be Joule sitting of the electrolyte. Okay, say it will be if the amount of heating, okay, so H will be in time t, it will be I square, proportional to I square, and value of the resistance. Okay, multiplied by time, you see the total amount of heat that has been produced in the time. Now this heat is going to increase the temperature of the electrolyte. But what is the fallout of this? Fallout means the once the temperature of the electrolyte, its resistance gets changes. Okay, and the conductivity also gets changed. This is one thing. Second thing, electrolyte may be heated very high. When it will happen? Because if the electrolyte is flowing, but flow rate is not sufficient. So the heat produced is so much, electrolyte may start boiling. So that is also put another difficulties other than gas bubble and this kind of situations. So electrolyte may start boiling. We have to avoid it. Okay. Then other again that will hinder the electrochemical process. So this overheating of the electrolyte, we have to ensure the electrolyte should flow at sufficient velocity so that this boiling of the electrolyte can happen. And you see, because of the electrolyte flow across this gap also, there may be some difference in the electrolyte temperature, which will also have some different electrochemical machining rate. Okay. So typically, what will be the parameters for ECM process? Okay, say power supply, it is a direct DC power supply. Is it not? Voltage, applied voltage, I said it is a low current, low voltage process. It is 5 to 30 volt. Either this can be in a continuous mode or it can be a pulse source. So current value, it is a 50 ampere to 40,000 ampere. Okay, this is the total current, because 40,000 amperes look pretty high, but looking at a say big, say we are doing a machining a big aero turbine or big impeller. So those kind of situations, the current value will be pretty high. But what is important, the which dictates is the current density, that is also high. It is something around 510 to 500 ampere per centimeter square, pretty high amperage. Okay. Now, electrolyte wise, type and concentration, mostly used, we can have sodium chloride aqueous solution. Maybe we can have 60 to 240 grams per liter. Also, some cases we use sodium nitrate. Okay. And here it will be something around 120 to 480 grams per thing. Says this is lower limit. A higher limit is 4 times the lower limit, both the cases. Okay. And less frequently used, there could be some other things, like sometimes may use acidic electrolyte. Sometimes we use alkalic electrolytes. Okay, put a little bit of H2SO4 and that acts up, but this becomes a corrosive electrolyte. It will have impact on the many of the components, but some cases we purposefully do it, make the electrolyte to be acidic. Okay. Now temperature of the electrolyte will be something between 20 to 50 degrees centigrade. So that it doesn't go high, because electrolyte is recirculated through a chiller. Because I said, because of the Joule sitting, when you machine with a high amperage value, you understand easily the temperature of the electrolyte tends to shoot up. Okay, so that has to be taken care of by the chiller, appropriate chiller into the electrolyte flow circuit. Then flow rate is typical value, say for every 100 ampere, a typical value may be around 16 liters per minute. Velocity is 1500 to 3000 meter per minute. Okay, electrolyte velocity across the gap. Inlet pressure around 0.15 to 3 megapascal, and outlet pressure is 0.1 to 0.3 megapascal. Of course, the inlet pressure has to be higher than the outlet pressure. Okay, these are the some of the parameters we can have for ECM value. Now, working parameters wise, the frontal working gap. Frontal working gap means, say we are doing some kind of a small, this is the tool and this portion is the job. Okay, it is connected to a power supply over here. So this is the inter-electrode gap. This gap is the inter-electrode gap. So here, this is something between 0.05 to 0.3 millimeter. That means it is 50 micron to 300 micron. Okay. Now feed rate, practical values will be something between 0.1 millimeter to 20 millimeter per minute. So you can have, that means you can have a dissolution depth in 1 minute, you can go as high as 20 millimeter, pretty high. Okay. Electrode material could be electrically conductive. Okay, and typically all these things are thermally conductive also. So brass, copper, bronze, they all are very good and they all can be machined and given a shape like this. They can easily be machined conventionally and given a shape. Then this used for the tool for the ECM process. Okay, surface roughness, as I said, you cannot really go for the very nanometer finish, something between 0.1 to 2.5 micron, mostly in terms of micron. Okay, and tolerance wise, if we suppose we want to have a dimension of 100 millimeter, to what accuracy we can do? It is say 3D shape, we can get something around 0.5 millimeter, 2D shape 0.05 to 0.2 millimeter. Okay. So this is how our typical ECM machine will work. You see, mostly one of the big thing you see, that is the power supply, because the high value of the current, you require special power supply, and where you can either a continuous voltage or DC voltage, but your power handling capacity should be that much. This is we apply, this is inside the machining will takes place, and it is whole inside an enclosure. Why an enclosure? Because the ECM process, the reaction, in the cathode, the hydrogen gas will be generated, and higher the machining rate, higher will be the generation of this hydrogen bubbles, hydrogen gas. So this hydrogen gas, you cannot live in an enclosed room like this. Okay, because hydrogen is a flammable gas, so there may be fire hazards and all. So put this fume extractor continuously, you throw this hydrogen, okay, far away from this job. Okay, so that this hazards are there, and this is what you cannot see inside this feeding device, which you devise through some mechanism, motors and all. This kind of these things are there, and this side probably what you cannot see, the electrolyte, recirculated things, pumps, chillers, all these things are there, and this is where your actual job is machined. Okay, so this is from AEG Electrotherm of a German company. They are machined this machine. Okay. Now, how this tools and jobs will be looking like? Okay, ECM we now understand through, we can control the process, we can control the machining rate, we can control the inter-electrode gap, we can give a shape of the component. Even for that, we have to make a complementary shape on the tool. Say, for example, when we use a tool, these are the different types of tool made up out of copper. You see here, the centrally we have created a hole. Why? Because other end is plugged. Okay, and here from sidewise electrolyte will enter, and from there working zone electrolyte will be distributed all through, so that it is better. Here also we have seen, we have done like this. Okay, so all these things, electrolyte is not injected in the gap from side. Okay, all it will come from this. Say this is the tool, corresponding job is this. This is simply sinking, a square type of job, square type of shape. What is this? This is the tool shape. Okay, this fish kind of thing, and this is which has been generated over here. Okay, this star kind of things which has been generated over here. Okay, the cylindrical shape which has been generated over here. So for any one of these shapes can easily be replicated and do it onto the job like this. Okay. So in summary, we can say the material removal rate in ECM does not depend upon the mechanical properties of the metal, but depends upon the mechanical properties, hardness or say toughness, okay, tensile strength. It does not matter, but it depends on the workpiece compositions, because finally the atomic weight and valency of dissolution is going to dictate, so it will depend upon the composition, and we know how the for an alloy it can be also be calculated, we know it. And accuracy of ECM depends on the shape and dimension of the machining of the workpiece. Okay, for approximately it is from 0.05 to 0.3 millimeter at using continuous current. But when you use pulse current, see, compared to continuous source, pulse voltage will give you better accuracy. Why? Because pulse voltage entire charge or things is segmented into number of pulses, and for every off time you get some time to restore the inter-electrode gap towards the its original conditions in terms of say ion concentration, in terms of temperature, in terms of what you call reaction products removal and so on, and so that your dissolution rate across the gap remains uniform. And also ECM is not a relatively so accurate process, because locally the distribution of the charges and effectively dissolution, because it depends upon the how far it is situations of the electrolyte. Let me draw a small thing with some color. Okay, say I am trying to machine with this a square kind of thing. This is my tool. Okay. Now here, what will happen? Color. Okay. Now, if we try to machine a square hole with this, say this is what we want to machine. Say there will be some overcut which we cannot avoid always, but I want to expect we'll get a exact square shape like this 90° over here. But remember, this will not happen with this tool. Okay, here because of the your at the corner your charge density is more. Okay, so these portions will be machined much faster as compared to this gap. Okay, these corners will be get machined much more faster as compared to other areas, so that the sharpness because of the these things will be lost. Okay, so although we are telling this tolerance, but whenever your sharp features comes, their ECM will fail. Not fail, it will compromise the shape, because here the features nearest to this, because of the sharpness of this tool, here machining will be more over here. So sharp corners are difficult to create. Okay, and because of the stray current. Okay, because here both sides the machining will be there and some stray current will be there. Say for example, when you machine something, let me draw a little bit. Say I am machining something with a tool. This is my tool. Sorry, let me draw it over here. This is my tool. This is my, sorry, this is my tool, say. Okay, and this is the job surface. What will happen here? This is the nearest point. We can expect the machining will be happen only under its footprint. But if the gap is more, because of this distance, the stray current also will flow far away from these areas. Okay, so you see, although some machining is happening mostly over here, okay, but there will be little machining or electrochemical effect will be there. Okay, little away from the desired places. This is what is called the stray machining. That's why these overcuts are there. Okay, these overcuts, say this is a hole, you look inside is a hole which has been created by this tool. Okay, so this kind of, because of the stray machining, this kind of shapes will come. Okay, so surface roughness of the machine surface in EDM process is decreasing with increasing machining rate. Okay, and approximately equal to 0.1 micron to 2.5 micron. Most important is the ECM process, there is no physical contact. Okay, and since there is no thermal issue, so neither there is a mechanical post machining, there is no mechanical stress, there is no thermal stress, induced thermal stress. So that will lead to, conventionally, that may lead to some residual stress. Even for EDM, there is a recast process, resolidification process, there is a recast layer. Okay, so that may lead to some thermal stress, but here this is completely free from any residual stress. Okay, this is very important. I think probably this is one of the few processes which will give you a residual stress free. Maybe chemical process is also like this, like to electrochemical process. So that's why ECM is very much used in the aerospace industries. Okay, where we can have ensured the safety, the fatigue life of the component has to be pretty high. Any sudden failure of the component which may come out of the residual stress, which may be compromised fatigue life, so that has to be ensured and reduction, so that we, all those turbine blades and other things particularly, those have to be residual stress free. Okay, so all rotating components there. So ECM is a very popular process for aerospace industries. Okay, because of the stress free surfaces. And again, how much energy you should spend, the specific energy consumption of ECM is relatively high, because you see, you are dissolving every molecule by molecule, and for dissolving every molecule you have to spend some energy, electrochemical energy. So typically this would ECM process would, this would vary from something around 2000 joules per millimeter cube. Okay, per 600 joules per millimeter cube. Okay, so that means for 1 millimeter cube you may have to spend something between 200 joules to 600 joules. Okay, this is how we summarize. So let us now see some special applications of ECM process. Okay, some special applications of the electrochemical machining process. Now, first one, we to see the simple electrochemical cutting process. But when you see, note, ECM process, you have to have a tool, conductive tool. You got to have a job which you are machining, in fact, and this is a non-contact process. So gap, inter-electrode gap, will be flooded with electrolyte, and electrolyte, by flow of charge, it will have the dissolution process. Okay, and you cannot allow the tool to touch the job. Okay, otherwise short circuiting will happen. Now in the cutting of process, what we take, we take the tool, some kind of a parting disc, cylindrical disc like this, and which are mounted on this tool. So their distance between can adjusted depending upon the slits we want to cut. So they can cast adjusted, and then this shaft is made to rotate. Okay, maybe it is on some fixture, it is rotating, and if this is job, if this block has to be cut into 3 pieces, knowing this distance, the discus adjusted so. So with time, in tandem with the machining rate, this will slowly move up, and eventually these 2 pieces will be parted off. This is one way we can do it. Then we can have electrochemical milling. We are calling using the term milling. Milling till now we know about the conventional milling cutters, okay, and so on. Here you see the surface milling process. You have, this is your tool, a cylindrical block is a tool whose this surface we are using as the machining surface, and but this is again mounted on a shaft and it is continuously rotating. Okay, and in order to have new every time, we can give a depth of cut also. So from left to right, this job is rotating so that new face can be exposed and which can be machined. Again, this is, remember, electrolyte is supplied over here, and this is a non-contact process. Okay, and third one. Okay, third one is a electrochemical turning process. Okay, electrochemical turning process, here we have, see here also we take a flat edge made out of copper, but we knowing that we got to create a shape like this out of a, say, cylindrical block from the job, we have to create a shape. We cut this shape into like this tool. Okay, now this tool will be mounted on some fixture, and this fixture we, along with the tool, will come down, and this job rotates. This is axisymmetric job, and locally this will be electrolyte is flooded over here. So your machining, and eventually this shape is attained on the job like this. So this is again electrochemical turning operations. Okay, so you can improvise anything and adapt ECM process into your applications. Okay, say for example, look at this particular thing. This is, say, sometimes I may have a very thin plate to be machined. Say this is a thin plate, maybe something around 1 millimeter thickness. Okay, and this is the size maybe much bigger. So problem with the conventional thing is the moment we try to apply the force and machine it, wherever we fix it, because of the things, this may tends to bend, okay, deform, and your machining cannot happen so easily. So rather ECM process, since we do not apply any mechanical force, we can easily do it. Say this kind of shapes I have to create. Okay, symmetric across the along the center. Okay, so we make this tool like this, and now this rotates. Okay, this is what the regular other ECM adjustment. So we'll get these shapes like this. Okay, this is how different types of shapes can be attained in ECM process. Now, suppose we want to make some shaping operations. Say this kind of aerofoils. Okay, this kind of, we want to give 2 shapes. One is this side, one is this side, out of a rectangular block. Say initially it was a rectangle, these black portions, but from that we have given these shapes through the ECM process. Now this is done because this may be one out of a component of a turbine blade, small, such kind of small. So these profiles can be created in a chamber like this. So this is electrolyte in. This is electrolyte as through this chamber, so that this can always be thing. And tool is fixed from both sides, and tool can be what you call approach. If job is held through some fixture and tool is moving from this side, tool is moving. So this tool gives these features because of this profile, and this tool creates this profile because this profile. Okay, and this will be of course connected to the positive, and tool will be connected to the negative terminal. Okay, so this is a shaping operation. Say for example, when you have much bigger shape, okay, say full from electrochemical shaping operations. So here this is the cathode tool, much bigger. Okay, it is like this, electrolyte flow is there, and out of this kind of complex profile can be easily attained, okay, with time, and nothing happens to the tool for the thing, as I repeatedly saying. So tool wear is 0. So design of the cathode tool shapes to obtain the profile turbine blade. So this we can doing on a soft material like copper or brass. So we can easily form these things, and they can repeatedly use this to create this sort of turbine blades. Okay. Or say for example, we want to have some hole on this kind of shape of curved surface. We want to have a irregular hole. How do you do it? Whatever hole drilling we have seen, these are all some drilling tools with axisymmetric things. But how do you do these things? So through ECM process, having this kind of form tubes, you can easily have this kind of irregular shaped holes onto these curved surfaces. Okay. Now coming to the another very simple but thing is a deburring process. Okay, deburring means deburring or deburring, what you call deburring is basically removing the bars. Okay, what are the bars? Say in conventionally when you machine, because of the interaction of the tool and the job physical interactions, and that some portions of the rather than tool will typically try to come out in from some different types of chips. Okay, say already it could be say continuous chip, it could be discontinuous chip, sometimes it could be serrated chips. Okay, but because of the interaction there may be some kind of things, so out of the jobs it will not completely removed, and this kind of chips will be one small portion of chips like a sharp edge, it will come out like this and projected out of this. Okay, so this may happen at the entrance like this, at the exit also it may happen like this. Okay, so these are called entrance bar. This is tool is entering, and this could be called the exit bar. Both the sides is happening. Or sometimes you are doing a say, shaping operations or milling over this kind of feather bars you can have. Flash bars, both sides, this kind of situations happening. This is what is having a thing machine, but this is something a small portion is hanging. It is got curled rollover bar, or it has happened and it has tends to cut like this tear bar. See, whatever may be the shape, my point of thing is that these bars are very dangerous. See, after sometimes they are difficult to machine. After machining, you have to put extra effort to remove this bar, additional machining efforts which can bar, and in some cases it will be difficult to machine because of the inaccessibility and other issues. But problem is there after say some application time, say you are having two mating surfaces. One is sliding over the other, say just like a tribological surface. What may happen after some, when loads are applied, after sometimes these bars may get detached from over here. But when this bar is there, this is you are in the actual field area, actual application area. This bar will go and mixed with the your lubricating oil, lubricating fluid, or somehow stuck in between the surface. Although you are having lubrication, but this is putting additional forces, scratches, it may spoil the surface, increasing the coefficient of friction of the surfaces. So all the mating surfaces. So all these issues may have. So best way is to, because putting the component into actual operations, you get rid of the parts. You avoid the problem before the problems comes and creates much more hassles for you. Okay. So this is, we will see how such kind of bars can takes place removed by the ECM process. Okay, what we are doing, just say for example, we have a hollow cylindrical component. Okay, this is a hollow portion, central portion. This is the two side. I should have asked these portions, and this component we are going to machine. Try to identify their bar. this component here we are having some kind of a bar over here at the entry point. Both sides there are bars there. Okay, this had to be removed. So what we do it here, we put corresponding, knowing that this is the point where the tool has to approach in close vicinity of the bar. I make the tool my tool like this. Okay, fixed position tool. This is the electrolyte. Okay, and this is the power supply, and this is the electrolyte pump, filter, flow meter, pressure gauge, and applying this voltage over here. Now when you apply, see, this is a very pretty simple operations because of the things with time, because here the charge density is more, and this is closest approach is this bar. So quickly this bar will get dissolved by the ECM process. So this is simple operations. See, many a times we can move the electrode, but many a times you need not have to even move. We can use static electrode. With time this will get dissolved. Okay, and this is a gradual, or it could be preferential smoothing. Say this is your cathode and this is your anode surface. See, anode surface one you want to smoothen. Okay, with time cathode this kind of ripples are there. Okay, on your job surfaces. So such ripples can be removed, say with time, passage of times, because of the sharp features, they will get eroded. So this gets, after some time this gets this shape. After sometimes this will even out, flattened out further, get these shapes. Further this shape, further this shape. And with time probably it will get much more evened out than such kind of a high means rough surface where this difference between the valley and the peak is much more. It will now come down by the burning, such kind of ECM process. So that means the sharper the portions, the more quickly that get dissolved and this bar can be removed by the ECM process, deburring process. So electrochemical deburring process, the machining conditions for deburring different materials. Say we can have different materials like high carbon steel, low carbon steel, copper alloys, aluminum alloys, stainless steel. For machining all these materials, bars are quite common. In some cases it may be more prevalent, some cases it may not be so. But let us see, depending upon the material, we have to choose appropriate electrolyte. Like here we are carbon steel, we are using sodium nitrate. Sodium nitrate more or less using for all materials. For aluminum alloys, we are using, okay, what you call 5 to 20% NaNO2, whereas for copper alloys we are using 5 to 15% NaNO3. Applied voltage, it is also a low voltage process, something between 12 to 24 volt. It is a low current density process. Dissolution is smoother. It may take time, but it will be, and this can be, bars can be removed something between 5 to 100 amperes. Okay, 100 seconds. The process can takes place. Okay. For example, I'll show you something like example. This is what I'm showing you, deburring of a surface irregularities on the external spline surface of K-Sarden steel. Okay, shift half sleeve. So shift half sleeve, this has to be initially when you K-Sarden. Okay, this kind of surface will having a very bad texture, surface textures. Okay, so this has to be smoothened out. Okay, so this both external spline carrying surface irregularity. Okay, so this is like this dotted portions. Okay, they are the surface irregularity. This has to be done. So for this, what we do, we take the correspondingly shape, conforming to this shape, we take the cathode tool, and this with this we try to machine and smoothen out by the deburring process. As I said, this is a low voltage, low current process. It may take time, but otherwise it's a very convenient, fantastic, and widely used industrially, because it is very economic as well. Okay, so deburring is a industrial process. Otherwise, deburring maybe how to do that things, presence of bars may be your headache in many cases. Okay, what's the time? Okay, this I will take up in the next class. Okay, we'll see some examples how the small hole drilling techniques by the ECM process. Okay, how this can be done. Okay, let me take the attendance today. Okay, just a minute.